Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on January 20th, 2023 at approximately 4:28 p.m. PST. I figured we've looked at a lot of things, but the one thing that I really have to take a look at, or that I really have to kind of to remind people of, I got to change that. That actually isn't it. I came back to this world, to this lifetime at this point for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay, now I bill myself as a spiritual guide because of the fact that the tools I offer people are exactly the same tools that I personally use. The philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live by. That's just the reality of it. Now, before I go any further, because I got a couple of people that keep mentioning this, I'm just going to move that over there so I don't actually block it. Sure, and then I stand in front of it. That always works. Anyway, we talk about working together and, making things a little better. But the reality of it is, you cannot work together if you've got no clue how to actually take your dreams and turn them into something solid. It just isn't going to work all that well. I'm working on this other screen for half a second because I got to see if it's actually up and running. And there we have it. Now I'll be able to see what is actually written because I know there's a couple of people that have already come into the chat room. Okay, and what do we got here? Well, coming in with Trump and Jiminy Crickets. Gonna kill that back feed. There we go. I need the screen there. I don't need the noise. So we have coming in with the gold is Andreas, followed rapidly thereafter by Tara with the silver, and then Joey, you managed to come in with the bronze, and then Dogface in with honorable mention. So I figure if we don't know how to take our life and change it, with all the talking in the world won't matter. Okay, if you don't know, there is so much talk about positive thinking works really well, and it really does. Nylock, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. It really does work very well. The problem is too many people look at it and go, positive thinking is the way to work it. Mr. L, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. The reality of it is this. Angels, how you doing? Hopefully your day's been going well. The reality is thinking positively is an extremely necessary thing. But does it work all the time, or does it work on its own? Not a prayer. Well, you can pray for it, be my guest. It so far hasn't worked all that well from my experience. The fact of the matter is, you can think about doing something, but if the power of thought were as consistently powerful as what people are led to believe, okay, then we would have a lot more success in this world. And sad to say, there would be a lot of people bankrupt, okay, or worse, because people look at them and go, I hate the fact that this person has so much money. The only reason to hate somebody that has too much money is, quite frankly, if that's the issue, the problem there is not so much that you hate the fact that they've got the money. The problem is you're jealous of it. Now, having money and being a decent person are, quite frankly, two very different things. Some people have a staggering amount of money, and really you sit there going, well, if everything is so fair, why do people that treat other people like garbage, why are they making the money? Well, the reason is because they get an idea in their head, they think about what they're doing. Quite often, unfortunately, it seems that many of them ignore the human factor. I want this. This is what I'm getting. And they will walk over people just to get it. But the reality of it, when you break it all down, They are no different than you are. They thought about what they desired, they figured out how to go and get it, and then they turned around and made it happen. Which means, in a nutshell, what we're looking at is going, the positive thought of it is this: I came up with an idea I desired to make happen. I worked out a plan to go and get it. And then I got off my tail feathers and made it happen. And this is the backbone of the whole 9 yards. Think about what you desire. Absolutely. I strongly recommend, however, that while you're thinking about what you desire, that you turn around and put your thoughts into action. I decided I was going to clear out my office. That I was going to take dominant control of my life this year. A lot of people went into the new year going, 2022 is a write-off. Look at all the things I screwed up on. I could do that myself. And I did look at the past and go, I missed on this opportunity. I screwed up on that opportunity. But here's the thing. I'm looking at it, and I strongly suggest and strongly encourage you to do the same thing. I forgot to write that down. Sorry, sidetracked myself. I'm just looking at Tara's name here, and it dawned on me I don't recall the day I sent the book out. I'm just curious how long it takes our postal service to actually get there. And rest assured, I question it just like you do as far as the service side goes. But I turned around and went, okay, this is where I've made miscalculations. Now, I'm going to open up a file over here, a Word file that is, because I started working on a project the other day. The other day being, I think 2 days ago is when I did it. Let's see. There we go. Open that up. This is what I am. This is the easiest way for me to actually do this. So at the beginning of the year, don't know exactly when, just a couple of days ago anyway, this is what I decided to put on paper. Remember what I mentioned about thinking about what you're doing, about what you desire to do, and give it physical form. This is what I did. I took a look at my company, at Inner Voice Enterprises, and went, I've been sitting on this since 2007 and doing absolutely nothing, because I was working full time. So like you, I went, why bother? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I've got a stable income. Well, that didn't work all that well. Because all of a sudden that stable income collapsed. So now what I'm looking at here, what did I do here? Oh, that hasn't shown. Now, why did that not transfer over? That is literally what I am doing in the long run. I am going to be breaking it down more and going through it step by step to make this happen. But the long game is right there on the chat room. I intend to build an arc, an all-encompassing, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially healing center for all. Now, do understand when I'm talking about for all, I'm not talking all people. I'm talking humans, off-worlders, ancient races, animals, plants, elementals, you name it. When I talk about all, I'm actually referring to the whole gamut. Can it be done? The answer is yes. Has it been done before? Yeah, about 50,000 years ago. But most people, when they start looking at healing centers, are going, I'm looking at the human factor. That is only a very small part, comparatively speaking, of what I'm looking at. And the reason I say very small part is not because you guys are less important, but take a look at the numbers. Okay, if we take a look at humans, there are a little more than 8 billion humans on the planet. Okay, Shadow, glad you could join us. I think your mother was cruel there, Shadow. I mean, having a middle name that says positive thinking, if that's your middle name, that's just cruel. It's really hard to wrap around. But hey, what the heck? I'm a gamer. I actually thought about naming my eldest son by a name that my ex put the kibosh on. Right. I mean, it was a nice name in my eyes. But, the reality of it is, I took a look at it and went, I'm looking at it going, there are a little more than 8 billion people on the planet. Okay. But how many trees are on the planet? How many blades of grass are on the planet? Humans are a tiny number, comparatively speaking. I'm looking at the whole picture. And yes, that's a massive concept. Shall we say, a major, an extremely grand perspective. Okay. Possibly you are right. Possibly it is too big. But what we have to look at is take a look at what you're aiming at. What is just one of your primary goals today? And I'm going to limit that a little and go, what is one of your primary tangible goals? Okay. An obvious example is that particular mission that I've got for my company. Okay. Another tangible one, which I've already got under control, is making absolutely certain I'm financially on top of what I'm doing, that I know exactly what I'm aiming for. One of the more intangible ones I'm working on is the same one you've got, that many of you have expressed. Okay, that being, that being that are we gaming? Are we lagging here? I hope not. Anyway, it's that issue of eliminating procrastination. Okay. So what have I got this here for? Well, that's because if I come up with an idea or with an idea for either another topic to discuss, okay, or if you guys come up with one, I have paper in hand, I have pen in hand. Okay. Of course, I have coffee beside me just so that I actually have my coffee. But I take a look at the reason I'm looking at the tangible ones. And that is, Cliff, welcome aboard, Cliff. You're absolutely right. The plant people have biorhythms. Earth itself, who you call Earth, Gaia, Mother Nature, I was told by her to call her Itza. Okay. And Itza has a biorhythm as well. This is why, quite literally, although human pollution is aggravating the situation, but you watch the weather change, the global warming, so to speak, we are talking about a normal life cycle for Gamoran. She is simply breathing. Okay, that's all she's doing, essentially. Spooky, glad you could join us. I'm really excited about this year because I finally, and talk about a wake-up call. The last several years I've been going, I got to get my finances in order. I got to get on top of it. And I've tried for years to do it, but it was only this year that I finally got my head on straight and I know what I'm up to. In a nutshell, my credit card, I am happy to say, is paid off. I spent a bunch of money on it and then 2 days later paid it off again. Actually, less than a day later, paid it off again. Okay, because I made a commitment to myself. I am not making this mistake another year. Okay. Uh-oh. What'd you do, Spooky? What do they want you for? I remember in Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice was trying to make the kid feel wanted. So he puts up a bunch of wanted posters. Not necessarily the nicest way, but it worked out really well. Well, from my standpoint, they're spooky. From that standpoint, they're dog face. The moment we say that you start a sentence with he, I know me personally, I've been asked with various clients. They've gone, they wanted to know if they had a relationship coming in, and it's a female that's talking to me, and they're going, well, is he cute? And I said, I don't know. He sure doesn't do anything for me. Now, that being said, that might have to do with the fact that I'm much more definitively attached to females, as far as appearances go. But that being said, I'm already taken, so it don't matter. Okay, because as I've told them, yeah, I will notice other people, absolutely. But from my standpoint, there's nothing wrong with noticing other people. Just read what Cliff put here. Oh, that's interesting. Cliff is just saying microplastics in water and soil, and the scientists invented plastic fork seeds. Well, I figured out something really neat. Money doesn't grow on trees, but you can make it grow like wildfire if you pay attention to it. I won't argue with the interpretation there, Dogface. From my standpoint, boils down to this. As far as I'm concerned, it does not matter who people like, what they like. For me, it's a simple issue of the one thing I don't like right now is I do not like feeling like I'm doing things backwards in my eyes. Okay. And this is why I say, whatever you've got on the goal, whatever project you've got, whatever goal you've got, talk to somebody, that has successfully done it before. So if we're talking about somebody that, if you want to talk to me, if you desire to talk to me about how to turn your life around, to take it right from where it is, right here, right now, and swap it completely around, well, halfway around. So many people I talk to, I turned my life around a complete 360. Now you think about that. You're going this direction, it's the wrong direction. So you're going to turn your life around completely 360. That works really great. You're still going the same direction, by the way. So I prefer the idea of turning my life around 180 degrees, because the way I was going wasn't working. Okay, this was just blatantly obvious. So if somebody desires to talk to me about how to do that, that's the easy part. And and this is why I said, and of course it's just out of reach when you know it. But I had to move over there for that reason. But like I said, this one. Yep. That particular book there, that's the backbone of it. Okay, but here's a neat little key to it. Okay, you start off with one simple concept. Step one, doesn't matter what you feel. Doesn't matter how you're thinking. Doesn't matter at all who you are. You desire to turn your life around and change it from from fighting depression. I gave up fighting depression. I just got depressed and be done with it. Left it that way for a few months. Sometimes you just look at something and go, I just don't desire to fight anymore. So whatever you're going through, the first step is to decide one little factor. And we can't even see that. Well, that just annoys me. Not really. Okay, I'm over it. The annoyance part. Anyway, I'm going to move something here because I prefer having it visible. So if I take this, that, by the way, is just a picture of Treebeard from The Lord of the Rings. at the Tower of Sorima. Like I said, I like the Lord of the Rings in case you haven't figured that out on your own. But this little sign here, right there where we can see it, I've got the same one. Okay. This is that one I went to all the work in. I'm going to do this one. I'm going to take it back out and get it a little bit, tidied up this year. But the first thing to get straight in your head, okay, first step to doing the whole thing, okay, is you turn around and you look at it and you go, I am worth it. It doesn't make much functional difference what anybody thinks of you. Everybody can absolutely put you on a pedestal. This is one of the things that held me back. Okay, as I kept telling people, I have no interest in being on a pedestal. And somebody finally said it in a way that made sense. Uh-oh. That's terrible. Dogface is just going, I dropped my toast on the floor this morning and I'm still not over it. Of course, the first question I always think about is, number one, presumably you keep the floor clean to start with. So, did it land butter or jam side down? If it did, it's a write-off. If it didn't, that's up to you. But you take a look at it and go, no matter who you are, people can say you're the best person on the planet. You're the greatest thing since sliced cheese, which I'm not quite certain how that became such a great thing. But I like cheese, don't get me wrong. But it doesn't make any difference how much other people tell you. Until it twigs here, you're still going to run into the same complications. Okay, and this is why I keep that sign. This is why I keep that sign up there that says, I am worth it. Now, of course, the other thing that I could, and there's a lot of things I could do. Oh, yeah. See, there's a, that unfortunately, Dogface is very much the case because, well, that's pretty much hooped. Normally, like, I grew up in a slightly different fashion than many of you did. Okay. I had, four brothers, a sister, and two foster sisters, all in the house at the same time. Not to mention pets. We had three cats and a dog. So of course, like many of you, there was a 15-second rule at home. Okay, but ours was a little different. Okay, most of the time, and I don't know where they came up with this idea, that you got 15 seconds if something hits the floor. If it's there for 15 seconds, it's garbage. In my family, it was much simpler. Okay. And rest assured, this is more a case of the way I looked at it. Okay. Not what my parents necessarily taught. Okay. But the basic rule I looked at is you got 15 seconds to get it, or somebody else or something else will. Now, that only applied if it landed butter side up or jam side up. Okay, or peanut butter. Right. Well, probably. I know what happens in my case because, to bring that up, Big, how you doing? Glad you could join us. It was tried, but because of the damage that was done because of the damage that my brain suffered when I was 20 months old, okay, when I was 20 months old, I had a fever of 108.4 that lasted 2 weeks. It not only flash fried the hypothalamus and the hippocampus, but it physically destroyed the nerve cluster between the right and left hemispheres. Okay. Super Mama, how you doing? Well, I am glad it's helping. Sorry you've had a negative day there, Paula. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter who you are. People end up with that. And buck up somebody else's, so-and-so had a worse day than you did. Guess what, people? Paula's had a bad day. It doesn't matter how bad the day on the other side of the planet was. It doesn't matter how bad your day was. It won't make Paula feel any better. My mom tried to tell me that. And I'll get back to that question in just 5 seconds there, big, Big J. My mom, when I tore my leg apart originally, my mom tried making me feel better, and she goes, Keith, your brother's friend down the street, he broke his leg. He broke his arm. I says, Mom, not to be cold, but he could have broken both his legs and his arm, and I still wouldn't feel any better about my knee. Okay. But going back to Big J here. Yes, I get sidetracked. At 20 months old, the fever I had, and this was a confirmed situation from my dad on his deathbed. When they actually tried shutting my brain down, because my senses were getting way ahead of myself. Okay. They tried, I asked Dad, I says, were they trying to slow it down, or were they trying to wipe it out? And he says, they were trying to destroy it completely. He says, but the problem was they took out the left side, and the second the left side went into stress, the right side picked up and repaired everything. So, of course, they go back over to the right side and try the same thing. We'll wipe out the right side of the brain. And because the left side sensed it, the left side, while they're trying to wipe it out, is rebuilding the whole 9 yards. Okay, what didn't ever happen was the connectivity never stabilized between both sides. So the answer in a nutshell, have they managed to successfully wipe it? No, this is why I still remember. Well, I remember coming down Mount Sinai. More importantly, I remember watching Pompeii burn. I love the thing I saw on Facebook just a little while ago. Scientists found the Ark, in Antarctica. No, the Ark was found about 30 years ago at the top of Mount Ararat. The reality of it, of the whole 9 yards, is we have to look at where we are and go, okay, what am I doing that's not working? Well, what I was doing, okay, and I suspect many of you, I kept telling myself, I will do better. I got to do better. I'm not happy with the way it is. And then I keep doing the same silly. And there are other words that'll fill that. And I kept repeating the same dense maneuvers. Okay. Now, I finally figured out, I think, but for the moment, it's working. And for the last 2 weeks, it's been working like an absolute charm. Finally figured out a method of making my life turn. To this effect, credit card is paid off, and yes, I've got the filing, in that filing cabinet behind me. I've actually started moving everything in for 2023. Okay, not to wipe out 22, but 22 I can't do anything with. Okay, I really can't. You can't either. But it is really important that all of us take a look at the world and go, okay, is this working is my little pocket in the world working? Now, if you've watched my videos, or if you go back over the videos, okay, you'll notice that my office used to be an absolute complete shambles. Okay, just looked like a disaster. At this point, I'm a whole lot happier with the way it is. Okay, I managed to do, like I told you I was going to. And again, this is the thing. Positive thinking is great. If you do nothing about it, it won't matter. Let's face it. Kids learn to think positively. I'm going to play hide and seek, and, oh, you can't see me. That works like a charm, but try that. No, don't do that. I won't even finish that thought, because some genius out there is going to try it. And I never have a problem with people that come up with weird ideas, even if they're life-threatening. Coming up with weird ideas is the way that we modify the way we're doing things. I tried that neat little thing of ketchup on ice cream. Really weird idea. In my opinion, really bad idea. But what the heck? Now, on the other hand, I did try something else. And again, this is going to sound twisted. Personally, I liked it. Okay. Cooked up bacon, chopped it up into small little bits, and put that on my ice cream. And that I didn't mind half as much. Yes, it's a little bit of a weird idea. But I always said I had weird taste buds. But we have to look at it and go, are you going to hang on to, as we're being taught, are you going to hang on to the fear that the world is going to come to an end before you die? Okay. Because every single one of you, every single one of us, everybody you ever know, okay, every single one of us has the same problem. We are going to die. Now, I've tried a lot of different methods. Personally, I'm not fond of any of them, apparently, because they keep shipping me back. But that being said, how you die or if you die is not the relevant question to really functionally look at. How you live and what you do with your life is a relevant concern. Are you doing something to make this world, to leave this world in a better state than when you got here? If the answer is yes, carry on, have a happy, and absolutely, like I'm finding with many of the people in this chat room, okay, absolutely. What this chat room shows me is there's a nice little cluster of people from all over the world that are starting to connect. Now, this is happening. I mean, let's face it. I've got a whopping 352 subscribers. Woohoo, big number, right? So much bigger than what I was thinking. And, I did actually write it down the other day. And I'd have to get up to look at the calendar to find out when. But I wrote it down right near the beginning of this month or the middle of last month, what the day was that I actually said what my subscription level was. I think it was this month. I love it, Dogface. I will warn you of something, though. Be careful what you wish for. Sometimes the journey back can be a royal pain in the neck. Okay. I mean, let's face it. As I mentioned before, I have, let's see. I just chose to leave. Astral traveling. Don't astral travel when hooked up to monitors in ICU. They don't, the people that are left behind do not take it kindly. But I've tried the astral travel method, and that wasn't suicide. I just didn't want to be here. Didn't commit suicide, I left. Okay. Tried the fever thing, experienced the poison thing, the heart attack, the shock, as in temperature shock. Tried it by epileptic seizure. That one was no fun. Okay. Did the drowning routine. So I've had a lot of runs at it. Okay, but they keep shipping me back. But I will tell you, the funnest part about death is not the transition. It's when you get over to the other side and you watch the number of people that are absolutely, totally confused when they get there. Because I'll tell you, the people that are expressing to you what you're going to go through, most of the ones that are actually propagating it and going, oh, this is where you go, they're missing major chunks of it. Mostly because the people talking about it quite often didn't finish the journey. Like lots of people talk about near death. I bypassed the whole near death thing. I went near death, past, near death, dead, past death. Let's carry on. To me, it was a routine, but no doubt there, Dogface. Of course, that depends entirely on what you're doing. If you're testing drugs that kill and that deliberately kill you, then going to work and death becomes a trade-off. By the way, I recommend against that kind of a life path. It's a job that really puts a strain on the body. The reality of it is, if and I'll use the term if. I did a video years back, I think a year and a half ago now. Well, no, can't be a year and a half. Yeah, it could be. March 21st of 2021, March 6th of 2021 was the first video I did. Okay. And I did a video back then with a subtitle language, if. Look it up. Okay. Because I go into why if becomes a complication. You know, the reality of it is this. When you have a goal in mind, you can think about it all you'd like. Okay. Because the thought starts here. You know, the whole driving thing starts here. It's a toss-up whether it comes to your brain and you go, I really desire to go there, or whether you bypass the brain and it goes straight to the heart and you get this feeling, this is what I desire to do. Okay. But it's when that connection in the heart meets the connection in the brain, and you now have that drive here and the intellect and the know-how to go, this is the path. Okay. This is the path I'm going, that I'm living. And this is why I came up with the understanding that when when your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, then you can achieve it. And that is where it boils down to. Okay. Now, I look back a year and a half now, almost 2 years in all fairness. Okay. I look back at that point. And at that point, I'm going, I don't want to be in the spotlight. I really don't desire to get into that. Hearing YJ, I know I've shown this and you probably have seen it. That is the original book. That's the original copy of the Lord of the Rings, of the Hobbit, that got my attention. Okay. Now I've got another hard copy of the Hobbit and one of the Lord of the Rings. Okay. Plus, of course, I've got 22 of the 6-inch figures hanging up in my room right now. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And just because of the fact, well, this is what's called just working both ends against the middle here. Where is Nathan? No, not that one. There we are. We copy that. Nathan, here's an interesting little bonus for you. This is Nathan's show. And for those of you that are interested, assuming Nathan actually wants me in there, I have marked it down on the calendar to try and join Nathan on Saturday. I have no idea what his focus is going to be that day, but I do know he comes up with some really, really neat concepts to look at. Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong there, Nathan, but that show is on... And that starts at 9 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Pacific. Okay, and I could go through the rest of them, but I don't see the point. Okay, now this is, of course, assuming that my system doesn't shut down on me, but that's the plan at the moment. But again, what I've taken to doing, and I'll show you this, again, because I know the people in the chat room can hear me, but I've always found that if you show people things, it makes more sense. Okay. Now, I'm still a dinosaur, right? So I still have a full calendar. I don't think you can read that at all. Okay. But I've got all the different things written down that I've got to do, which is actually working really nicely for me at this point. But I keep that ready to handle so that when something comes up, and you see me go over there on occasion, where somebody goes, this is a topic I'd like to see, or I'd like to talk about. Oh, I was going to say, I think I saw an ad for it. Myself, I'm still dealing with, I still play D&D. Twice a week, one game I play a solo character, and the game master just runs it for me. Okay. The other one, that's on Thursday, and Sunday morning and afternoon, I run a campaign myself for a few other people. The reality is my schedule is getting really, really hectic. Okay. So I have to start organizing things. But I will tell you this, no matter how hectic it gets, I am still scheduling my gaming time in. To be blunt about it, when I had my stroke in 2018, I wouldn't let a simple little stroke stop me from making my game night on New Year's Eve. Just wasn't going to happen. I wouldn't let the doctors keep me in the hospital. Uh-oh. What is this? Keith, what is your opinion on... I'm presuming that's supposed to be Wilhelm Reich. And in all fairness, I don't know the guy. As in, I've never looked him up. I've never listened to any of his talks, if that's what he does. So I got nothing to work with for you there, Big J. I'm not sure if I want... I look at that and Dogface goes, Keith reminds me of my grandfather. Old and gray-haired. I started that way long ago. I started going gray when I was 16. Joe's going, what's the best way to know if your house is haunted? And you know it is, but you don't have anything to capture evidence. Number one, give up on the whole idea of capturing the evidence. Because the reality is, if they know you're there, okay, the best way is going to be in here. Okay, you just come to a point you know it's haunted and be done with it. Okay, but if you've got an idea of who it is, okay, and I don't mean by name. When I was still with my wife, right, we were in the middle of canning. And we already knew the house was haunted by multiple people. Of course, that was my fault. I kept telling the ones I ran into, look, if you need a place to hole up, come and sit down, but behave, but pay attention to the rules. Okay. So, of course, my wife turns around. We're doing canning, and she turned around to get something, turns back, and the paring knife that she was using to cut the peaches up had gone missing. Well, she never missed a heartbeat. She looks at the roof and she goes, okay, whoever took that knife, if you're doing the cutting, great. Have it, keep it. But if you're not going to do the cutting, put the thing back. No sooner did she say that than the thing showed up back on the table. But, I just noticed there, YJ, I don't know if it's the best way, but a pendulum can work quite nicely. Okay, and to answer that question that nobody's asked yet, a pendulum works on micromuscular modification. In other words, your body senses it and helps the pendulum, or passes a signature onto the pendulum, whereby the pendulum can translate for you. Okay, but one of the easiest ways, you just keep note of what goes missing or what keeps being moved. If there's no logical situation, if there's no logical explanation for it, I like the way that Spock out of the original Star Trek put it. When you eliminate all logical possibilities, whatever is left, irregardless of how illogical it may seem, is the answer. Now, you already know your place is haunted. Okay. And I'm going to use a swear word here. Okay. The easiest way I found, and I recommend strongly against it, because most people out there have no clue how to handle one of these tools. Okay. I found working with a Ouija board, it was great and easy for me to find out who was there. But it is a dangerous toy if you don't know what you're doing with it. Kind of like guns and gasoline, they have their benefits, but they are dangerous if you don't know what you're doing with it. That's cute. Yeah, and like I've tried the little calendars, but frankly, I can't read what I write on them if they're that small, and I can't write as much as I write on them. But I've done things like gone, okay, this is when, because you know all those electronic calendars, they're great. But here's a new one for you. Okay, now I've mentioned this to you guys before. That's my cell phone. Now you know what a pocket dial is. Virtually every one of you has probably experienced it or at least heard of it. Okay, where you got your phone in your pocket, and because you move in a certain fashion, it just goes off and phones somebody. Now that's a great way to do things. Okay, now mine, it's normal for me to have the phone sitting up front. I'll be down back doing something, and my phone will phone somebody else. Okay, and I thought that was bad enough, so I call it counter dialing. Okay, but the weirdest thing happened to me with the cell phone the other day. Okay, just last night, I think. I was on the phone to my other half. Okay, I was using the phone. Or more to the point, I was using FaceTime. Okay, which is technically still using the phone. But my phone turned around and dialed my little brother. Or not my little brother, sorry. Dialed my number one son. Okay, the phone dialed him. Okay, so of course I get this text message. I'm in the middle of a conversation with my other half. I get this text message saying, "Did you just phone me? What's wrong?" I'm like, I've been talking to my other half for the last 20 minutes. So 10 minutes ago, no, I was right in the middle of a conversation. Okay, but this is just the way technology works for me. I'm just looking here. And, keep telling them that, Nathan, because a Ouija board, it's a tool that does work. Problem is, it creates a lot of problems if you don't know what you're doing with it. Okay, driving a car works great, but if you don't know how to drive a car, you're going to cause problems or you're going to run into them. The other thing that I have always found, okay, so Dogface, did you ever end up dating her? If the phone's getting that attached to her, you might have wanted to look into it, but that's from the past, at least I think. But no, we can think about doing whatever. But if you put no action to it, it's not going to work all that well. Okay. It's one of these important little factors that we have to take a look at and go, are you going to continue living your life based on what you think you would like to do? Or are you going to get up and actually do something with it? Now, this is why I say the dream board is the big picture. Okay, you get an idea, an overall picture. For instance, that neat little one that I just mentioned that I just sent through. Let me get back to that or did I close it? I did so. Wonder if it's still available here. Go way back up here. And I'm just scrolling up to see if I can find the thing. That's probably the dumbest idea. Well, not the dumbest, but what the heck. This. Okay, this is the thought that came up. Okay, regarding me personally, and I strongly recommend if you guys have a goal that you've come across, do the same thing. Okay. I got the idea. This is the idea I came up with. Okay. Came up with that idea. That mission goes on the dream board. Okay, and to show you exactly how quick that happens. Okay. This little one here. They're not sticky notes, but then I don't have a lot of what I want to work with. If you'll notice on this one, we own the empire Inner Voice Enterprises. Okay. that is referring, the empire is only part of what the ark is. The ark is a very important little factor. And if we think about it, years ago, an ark was made to try and change the world. People looked at the person and went, "You're absolutely off your nut." Now, I've been told I'm off my nut as well, except for by the people that could have me locked up. They all think I'm completely in sync with myself. I question their assessment, but I'm happy at it. Because I don't know about you, but I got no interest in being locked up. Well, there you go. So, and there you go, Super Mama. Okay, somebody in your house, and I don't mean a physical somebody. Somebody wants to get a handle on the internet and see what they can find. Okay, it's always enjoyable from that standpoint. But we can look at what you'd like to accomplish, or we can turn around and totally ignore it. You can go, "Gee, I hope this changes." And I love the way it was put one day. People desire the world to change, but people on the whole don't desire to change themselves. Okay, and if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, if we keep listening to people telling us, fear everything, you're going to live your life in fear. I was told just today, I've got to do something about my heart because the silly thing keeps quitting. Right. So I figured, okay, well, I'll do something about it. And I went and got some heart tonic. I now have enough hawthorn berry syrup made by an accredited and very well gifted herbalist. So I've got a year's supply of elderberry juice, or of hawthornberry juice rather, in my house now. So I've started a regimen to literally, because I sat down and said, okay, what does this stuff do aside from help the heart? Yeah, hawthornberry is something that is very good. What it does is it not only helps strengthen the heart, okay, but it helps thicken the heart muscles, not the arteries. It doesn't narrow the arteries. It builds the strength on the outside, okay, of the heart. Okay, so I went, okay, I've now got enough that I can take this, as it was recommended by him, twice a day, half a teaspoon, and start actually physically rebuilding my heart. Okay. Now, the nice little part about it, okay, is when we... Oh, okay. Yeah, I will have, as a matter of fact, think what I'll do there. Super Mama, as I've told other people, okay, everybody that's come up with a topic that they've mentioned, you brought the idea to mind here. What day would you like that on? Not counting Thursdays, because I won't do it on Thursday. Okay, but what day? When can you be certain that you'll be in the room? And because I will lay out the details. Because my idea is this: I can lay out the details. If somebody else beats me to it, the only thing that's going to happen is we end up with another healing center that actually works. But I'll let you pick the day of the week as long as we ignore Thursday, because Thursday ain't going to happen. Well, Thursday will happen, but sorry, that's my gaming day, and that one I'm not giving that up. I wouldn't give it up for a stroke. I'm not giving it up for anything else. But no, we can continue listening to what's gone wrong, or how bad the world is, or how bad you may have had the worst year of your life. Okay, you can look at how bad it was, what you should have done, etc., etc. Well, I understand that. Let's see. I just got to take a look and see what I've got booked already, but that's where this fine little calendar comes in handy. We are right now on, we're on Friday. Okay. Now, Friday, Saturday night. I can actually do that because it starts at 7. I could actually do that on Saturday and really lay out what the healing center is for. Okay. And how I'm going to go about making it happen. And you'll notice I didn't say I'm going to go about trying to make it happen. Again, I did a video on the word try. I know there are 12 words out there that are self-debilitating, and I've got to get back and finish them. Okay, because I've done 4 of them. But how about if we talk about the healing center tomorrow? Saturday is as good a day as any. You know, got a question for you, the dog face. Is a tablecloth party anything like a pillow party? Because if so, I'm not interested. That's just not going to happen. In all fairness, I try and avoid parties, primarily because of the fact I don't like to be around people that much. It's called sensory overload. So where is it? I need a pen. Okay. So right now, and no, you can't see it because I tried doing that and nobody can read that. But I just marked it down here. Whoop, not the 28th, ding-a-ling. Tomorrow's the 21st. Okay, so tomorrow, starting at 4:30, I will lay out or answer questions regarding how the whole concept came up, what the plan is to put the healing center together. Okay. That's okay. There's no problem there, Dogface. No offense, and no offense even thought about being taken. At least not in my hand. You know, I've had some pretty twisted thoughts on occasion, but that wasn't one of them. As you can tell by if you have any idea what a pillow party is, you know, and a pillow party is not a fun thing to be invited to. You know, but no, tomorrow I will be discussing the healing center because I'm not interested in thinking about doing any things anymore. I'm interested in making them happen, which is why when I decided I was not going to be running a balance anymore, unless something really bizarre happens pretty quick, I'm going to take some more money out of my RSP account to make sure that I do not end up having to carry a balance. It just dawned on me today that I've got one bill coming in that I know it has to be dealt with. Okay, I've got another bill coming in, my home insurance, which is a good deal. The home insurance I've got, actually, if I do end up having to move because of a problem that somebody else in the apartment block causes, I'm still covered. You know, I still get my stuff taken care of. But we can look at the things you'd like to do. Okay. Don't go to one, Joe. Pillow parties are actually a reference to something that happens in prison. Okay. So as long as you stay out of prison, you should be fine. And no, I have never been in prison. Okay. I've never been in jail. You know, in all fairness, in spite of driving with an absolutely lead foot when I was younger, I've never even managed to pick up a speeding ticket, and I'd like to keep it that way. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, there's no point. This is that one topic there, Dogface, that you're not going to bother Googling. I don't even know if you'd find it, but So I am looking at, like, I look at it going, okay, I desire my life to change, but in order to make that happen, I had to do the same thing. I've got to do the same thing with all of the changes I desire to take place. Same as you. I will tell you this, it's not easy by any stretch. But if you're one of these people that is struggling to lose weight, half the reason you're struggling to lose it is because of the mindset. And no, you're sitting there going, but I don't want the weight anymore. Probably not. But the problem with with human training is you're taught, if you lose something, go find it. And the problem with weight is if you lose the weight and you go and find it, most of the time weight comes back with company. So I changed my idea and went, I'm going to drop the weight. I'm going to discard it because I've got no use for it. Okay. And quite frankly, I was starting to feel like I had a basketball under my shirt all the time. Well, brain fog, Joe, brain fog is so tightly tied to Kraft's disease, that it's just absolutely amazing. Now, the neat part about it is that we can actually go there. Sure it does, Dogface. 60 beers over the weekend, that'll absolutely help your beer belly. It'll help it get bigger and bigger and bigger. And amazingly enough, the more you drink, the more you can hold, because the stomach actually stretches. There comes a point where you end up with diminishing returns, not the least of which is that nasty annoyance called a hangover. Thankfully, all I got out of the deal was alcohol poisoning twice. But anything you desire to change about you is going to require work, and you got to remember that two major factors. One, it did not happen overnight. Like, to be blunt there, Dogface, I'm betting dollars to donuts when you started drinking beer, you didn't start drinking 60 bottles of beer at a sitting. You probably had to work up to that. Well, I could say, well, you just need a slightly bigger belly, but probably not. See, I found that, like, I never did drink a whole lot of beer. At least I don't think so. I lost count after the first half dozen. But I might have lost count due to the fact that I was drinking a 26er at the same time. And then I'd interrupt my drinking the 26er by going through lines of cocaine. But regardless of what you've done, of what you've been doing, regardless of the path you're currently on, if you desire to change, number one, first and foremost, you've got to be the one. You've got to desire to change for you. Oh. Yeah, Dogface is going, not at once, it's Friday and Saturday. I used to party with guys that would take a pedestal table that was probably 2.5 feet in diameter. They'd fill the thing with beer at the start of the night, and then they'd carry on drinking, and the waitress would just keep bringing the beer. Right. Also known as I'm sure many people are aware of, also known as power drinkers. Now, do I have anything against alcohol? No. Alcohol's never done me any harm. I put a glass on the table, it sits there and never even swears at me. There was a point where I'd be looking at it, and all of a sudden it was replicating for me. I'd be looking at a drink on the table, and all of a sudden I'm looking at 3 going, well, that's neat, but now I got to figure out which one I'm allowed to drink. But whenever you've got something, doesn't matter what it is, okay, I told myself I've got to get a mission statement together to get focused on what I'm aiming at. And one of the steps in getting to that healing center is going to be building a publishing company that will literally publish for people, not based on are you good enough, but based on Did you write a book or a book, a poem, doesn't matter. Did you write one that you desire to put in print? Okay, there are a couple of genres I will not deal with. Okay, if you're writing an adult like an adult book, as in adult entertainment, if you will, I'm not touching those. It's not that I've got anything against them, and you may be the best writer in the world. Okay, I won't be touching it with my company. And that's not a question of how good it is. It's a question of it's a topic I won't deal with. I also won't deal with ones that lay out how to go about overthrowing any organization, be it society, be it government, be it just a simple corporation. Okay, I will not promote books of any form or storylines that promote that kind of devastation. You take care, Nathan. Glad you can join us. I'd say take your time, but the reality is I'm only here until 6:30. Are we really that late? Oh, okay. I was just looking at I misread the clock here. But take a look at what goal you've got. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay. Take a look at the goal that you desire to obtain, to accomplish. Okay. First and foremost, you're going to have to do the work. Okay. Anytime you find something you desire to do, talk to somebody that has successfully done it. Okay. Because they're the ones that they're the ones that have the best shot in telling you how to accomplish it. Okay. Absolutely talk to ones that have tried to do it before and failed, because sometimes you can talk to somebody, they'll tell you what they made the effort on that didn't work. Okay. Now I'm having to teach myself how to market. Okay. It's one of the biggest shortfalls I've got. Now, please tell me you don't play those while you're driving there, Dogface. I mean, darts is a great game. My brother used to do it. I used to play it all the time. Right. But that's one of those games that you do not play while you're driving. But take a look at the goal you've got. Okay. Doesn't matter how big it is. Now, yes, my building the healing center, given the fact that I've barely got enough money to make ends meet right now. Okay. Telling people I'm building this, I may not make it. Okay. I may only get a small thing done. But what the heck? Let's just say for now, I'm 59. Give me 4 months now, and I'll be 60. Okay. But long ago, I looked at Colonel Sanders, the guy that built Kentucky Fried Chicken, the guy that built, Joe, glad you can make it. How you doing? The guy that built what is now called KFC. Okay. From my understanding, he opened his first chicken stand when he was 65. So I'm still 5 years ahead of the game. Okay. So now it's a question of making it happen. And I tell you, I never would have even considered the amount of support I've got from the people in this chat room and many other chat rooms I've been in. From my standpoint, the amount of support I've got from you guys has been absolutely amazing. Okay. And this is why I bring up this little issue here. This particular little site is where I got pushed into, where I got not pushed, but really encouraged to step into the spotlight, was by you guys. Okay, by the people that were from Spaced Out Radio. Okay, come to think of it, is that coming up again soon? You gotta be kidding me. We're only 2 weeks away from my being back on Spaced Out. That is absolutely shocking, if you will. Joe, I hope they do a better job down there. Okay, because I will tell you, the Kentucky that we've got up here, the KFC that we've got in Kelowna here, I wouldn't buy from them if you paid me to. Well, yeah, if you paid me to, I would. But I'll tell you, the company up here, their food quality has gone right through the floorboards. It now tastes like they're selling cold cardboard. And yes, I have actually chewed on cold cardboard. Not in decades, but I did. Okay. I love the comments that some people come up with. And specifically when I was growing up, you'd hear people going, kissing a smoker is like kissing a dirty ashtray. And the first thing that always comes to mind was, what genius came up with the idea of kissing the dirty ashtray as a way to compare? Oh, when I was a kid, it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, unfortunately, I found the same thing. When I was a kid, it was second to only one. It was the only company that made better chicken than Kentucky. When I was growing up, in my opinion, was for a short time there was a competitor called Brownies that made fantastically moist chicken. Now, if I go to the 7-Eleven in town, it makes better chicken than just about everybody in the city. Okay. But you're right, talking about chicken has had a bad effect. Now when I get off the show, I got to phone my ex to find out who the company was that she got the chicken from. Because I certainly won't be buying Kentucky. But you get an idea in your head about what you desire. Okay. Given that you're doing it for you, because I will tell you, somebody else says you got to change. If you don't have that heartfelt connection with the head, the odds of you changing it are not great. Think of how many people have gone to the doctor and the doctor says, look, you've got to quit smoking or you're going to die. Or you've got to quit drinking or you're going to die. I'm going to save you all a whole lot of worry. You're all going to die. Okay, you really are. Now, some of you like me may take more than one run at it. Okay, but I bypass the near-death thing. I get to the door going, I'm going to die. Bonus, I'm through. And then they go and ship me back. I don't know, maybe the quarter got stuck or something. But what you do with your life, you're not taking the material world with you, but you can leave a fair chunk of it behind for those that are left behind. And by the way, all the material world in the world will not make somebody feel better. Okay. What do we got here? All the material stuff in the world that you leave behind will not make the people left behind miss you any less. Okay. But in my opinion, and this is why I decided that it was time to build another ark. Okay. Is the world needs a marker to say, this can be done, this can work. And the number of times that I talk to people that are following a spiritual path where the people that are leading them are going, the world's going to end and you're all going to, you're all going to hell except a very select few. God's going to come down and say, you're special. Okay. And he's going to pick you up, or the aliens are going to come in, sweep a bunch of selected people off the planet while the planet burns. Well, in my opinion, thanks for playing. Not going to happen. You made the mess. Okay. And I don't mean you personally. Society, by its choices, by its action, and quite frankly, by the propagating of fear and greed, has created the mess we have today. Okay. That's, it's up to us to turn it around. Okay. And like I said, I've started going back to cooking and what have you. Well, going back to, little hard to call it going back to. I didn't do it when I was a kid, but I quit doing it at all 30 years ago, aside from absolute necessities. So when I get done with this stream, I'm actually going to be doing a huge pot of chili up in the slow cooker, and then I'll freeze it. But that's going to take me the better portion of the night to get it done. What are you gonna do? Stand behind it and spin his chair? Dogface is just going, when I die, I'm gonna haunt Dave's chair and Dave Scott's chair. We're gonna make the bloody thing move every night. I was thinking you're just gonna stand. Before I read all that, I'm looking at this going, you're just gonna wait till he sits on it, then you're gonna stand behind it and grab the chair and just do this with it. And hit the thing and just make it do and go around in circles for him. I'm thinking that's not necessarily nice, but it would be comical to watch, especially watching the look on his face, as he sits there trying to figure out what the heck happened. I remember I was dealing with a spirit one day, talking about going sideways. I was dealing with a spirit one day that had threatened somebody I know, was going to kill them because they had been yanked across by somebody else. So what I did was I talked to the guy for a little bit, and he turns around and he goes, and he's just being a pain in the neck. He turns around and he goes, "I've seen you in hell." I looked at him and I said, "Wait a minute. So you're telling me you've seen me in hell, and yet you're still trying to tick me off? You know hell won't hold me, and you're still trying to tick me off?" I said, "Tell me, is this the kind of stupidity that got you killed in the first place?" So by the end of it, I finally said, "Look, tell you what, I know who pulled you through. So why don't you go haunt him and make his life miserable instead of this other person's?" "Well, I don't know where they are." I said, "Well, he's in jail. It's called a captive audience." Right. Well, as soon as I told him that, he was gone, and the person that was having the problem never had another problem with him. And again, it boils down to, if you're going to tell somebody you're going to do something, follow your word. But please, please, please make whatever you're talking about doing, make it a positive thing. Okay. There is nobody on the planet nobody in existence I've run into that is 100% evil. Okay. I've never run into a single one in any race, in any spirit line. Never. And bear in mind, my memories go back a long way. Okay. But it's very important that whatever you're looking at creating, whatever you put your energy into, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing, you're stacking the deck in favor of it happening. I was just thinking, I'm looking at that sign behind me. It says on air, and technically I am, but the majority of what I'm on happens to be a chair. No, I'm not just sitting here with my legs crossed, floating above the floor. Although that would be entertaining. The neat little part is, I'm a firm believer in both. Dogface is just going, "I don't believe in God. I believe in Goddess." Okay. From my standpoint, I believe in both. But then again, I've talked to both. It's not a question whether I'm right or whether you're right. There is no right or wrong. That boils down to a case of opinion based on experience. And in my case, I ran headlong into both of them. Dogface, I'm hoping I never get to that point. I've got no interest in it. So I'm looking at ways of enhancing my own body's ability to repair itself. Okay. But my brother was on a CPAP machine. He was on it for years. Okay. And many people I know that I've seen walking around, they drag oxygen with them, which gives you an idea of the fact this is kind of a serious thing. Okay, it's not something to joke about per se, but the one thing I guess actually, in all fairness, you can joke about pretty much anything as long as you're not striving to make people feel bad about themselves. You know, the one thing that always struck me is the people that end up on oxygen. Right now, they're no longer permitted to smoke. I mean, technically you could, but carrying a tank of oxygen with you and a cigarette is not necessarily a good idea. Unless, of course, the cigarette is not lit or the oxygen tank is closed. Either one, it becomes safe. But if you need oxygen, you kind of want the valve open. And if you want a cigarette, you kind of want to have it lit most of the time. I have seen people light it backwards, and that usually results in a disaster. Well, yeah, absolutely, that dog face. And here's something, and I don't know, I am not a medical doctor, okay? But I have seen people do this, okay? Emphysema, the doctors will tell you, is incurable. And 99% of people will absolutely stand there and look at you and go, "You've got emphysema, there is no way to turn it around." I am an absolutely solid believer that it is possible to heal it, that you can heal it yourself. However, with that in mind, for obvious reasons, in case somebody had to tell you, but this is more for other people listening later. You're on oxygen, stay on it until you turn it around. But that term that I used a long time ago, actually I've used it quite regularly, really, about running that thought through your head, heal. Your body knows how to cure the damage. It knows how to repair it. You've got a perfect blueprint in your genetic superstructure. Okay. Dogface, you're still breathing. Not too late. Just something to think about. But that's okay. You've got your life. You know how you're living, and if you've adapted to it, have a happy. The biggest thing in the world to remember. Okay, well, debatably the biggest thing is that, quite frankly, okay, my apologies. Yes, definitely too late for your father. And seriously, my condolences for your loss. But yeah, for him, it's pretty much a hoop job. Okay. The reality of it is doctors will tell you what's not healable. Okay. And they'll tell you all sorts of things. Here's a pill, this will make you healthy. Oh, by the way, here's the one thing it'll do to help, and here's a whole stack of things it'll do to kill you. Please take it. And I look at this going, how about not? When I went to have the heart attack the other day, okay, and this is why I know for an absolute certainty, the guy that makes my hawthorn berry syrup, it works like a charm. I was starting to have serious troubles. I went and took a half a teaspoon of this, and the heart came back on track. This is why I trust this guy, is because he talks about what he's going to do with it and what it can do. And when I utilize it, it works. The nice part about it is whatever goal you've got, doesn't matter what it is. Okay. I do strongly encourage you to pick something positive. Okay. Something that can leave this world a better place than when you got here. And by the way, okay, and this is just an off note, if you will, way too many people go, I want this person dead because the world would be better off without him. Could be. But every single individual in existence that I've ever run into has a positive side to them. Sometimes the negative really outweighs the positive, and it's really hard to see it. But again, they've gone down their path, and now it's a question of us reaching out and going, okay, what is a goal that you would, and I'll call it the tangible ones first. Because let me ask you this. In your opinion, okay, is it easier to change a mindset or a physical thing? Or is it easier to change what your mind is focusing on or where a physical thing is sitting? Okay, prime example. Is it easier to actually have this coffee cup? Okay, is it easier to have the coffee cup just by thinking about it, have it show up in my right hand? Or is it easier to go, I desire that coffee cup in my right hand, so I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to move it over, and now it's in my right hand? Which one is easier to accomplish? And, you get really 2 guesses. But, you get 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. Ultimately, that is correct there, Dogface. And there are ways of doing it. I've explained them before where it comes to drinking, where it comes to doing drugs that work like a charm. Okay, I used to have a massive problem remembering people's names. Okay, and then it dawned on me. Every time I forget somebody's name, I would tell them, I'm sorry, I have a lousy I've got perfect memory for names. It's about that long. I kept reinforcing my own problem with names. The moment I started telling people, and really it was more an issue of telling myself that I could remember people's names. As soon as I started doing that, suddenly, almost suddenly, my memory and my recall of somebody's name, which is, by the way, for any individual in any society, any income bracket, their name is the most powerful tool that you can use in making a decent impression or in getting cooperation. Call the person by name. And for those of you inclined to do so, calling a waitress sweetie or honey or, even the polite things like miss, okay, will not get you as positive a response as calling them by their name. Okay. It is a number one, a number one powerful word to any individual. Okay. Well, that's a new one. See, Dogface just going, every time I think about you, Keith, I think about him. No idea why, but it's been that way for years. Tell you, from my standpoint, nothing serious to look at. Of course, in all fairness, I look at my own body and go, I'm not happy with the weight. I'm not happy with the health level I'm in. I've got some glitches I've got to sort out, and I can list off all the things I don't like. Not the least of which is I'm not happy with these. On the other hand, they do stop me from running into walls while I'm driving. And yeah, there are those of you there are people out there that look at me going, if you'd run into a wall, that'd be really convenient. But it's like I've told people, I make every single person I meet, everyone without exception, I make every single person I meet happy. Okay. And I pride myself on being able to make everybody happy. The twisted part of it is some people I make happy by showing up. Most of them I make happy by leaving. Yeah, well, at that point I was way heavier. Because I'm quite happy I'm down 50 pounds from what I was. Okay. And now I'm looking at it going, I've still got another 15 to lose before the end of the year. I'm striving to break the 190 mark now, which is really neat considering last year at this time, I was sitting at over 240. So at this point, I'm still 50 pounds lighter, but that's because I'm changing it. I'm not happy with it. Therefore, I'm dropping the weight. But I did find doing the drop at 40 pounds a month is just plain suicidal, in my opinion. Nicely done there, Joe. It's things like that. You know, Joe's just saying he was in an accident and broke his back, his spine in 8 places. Doctors said he'd never walk. He'd never walk again. He had no insurance, so he got no medical help and healed himself by the mind. Okay, now that tells you what the power of the mind can do on a localized level. Okay, and like I said, I'm not the only one that does it. Joe obviously is another one that, you know, quite frankly, if you know Joe and if you talk to him about that sort of thing, he can, I think he can explain what he did, but it really boils down to, in my opinion, a mindset that I'm not going to let this stop me. You know, I mean, it was funny when I had the stroke. I told my doctor I was going home for New Year's Eve, right? Because the one thing I was not doing is I was not spending New Year's Eve in the hospital. I had a Dungeons and Dragons game to get to, and I've been doing it every New Year's Eve for the last 20 years. So there was no way I was missing that particular day. That's what's called a diehard gamer. You know, that is one thing I will do when my brother's estate clears. I will be getting a state-of-the-art computer that I'll be able to do all sorts of things with. Although, in all fairness, I'm not betting on it being able to run my household. You know, because I can just see what happens. I get frustrated with it, and all of a sudden the poor thing has a coronary. You know, I'm not sure, but that's not good for computers as near as I've figured out. You know, the reality is that when you're looking at the way your world is, okay, take a look at, pick just one goal. I recommend picking 12, okay, to have completed before the end of this year. But start with only picking one and then begin rearranging the energy in your house, okay, or in your primary work area so that whatever is not contributing to getting that done is moved out of the way. Okay, because the reality of it all is this. Once you get your mind set on something and you can get your heart to connect to it, Amy, how you doing? Glad you could make it. Now, the easiest way, and I kid you not, this method works. Okay, it is boring as all getting, as all get out, but it works like an absolute charm. Okay, and absolutely either listen to this again or take notes. Okay. Number one, find a recording device. Okay, tell you what, I'll do it this way there, me. You got a piece of paper handy that you can just make some quick notes down and then you can write them out in good copy afterwards. Or I can just run through it. Your call. So I'm just going to give you a minute to bring an answer up to that. Yeah, Dogface just gone 12 goals this year. That'll be more than Dave's hockey team scores. That's just terrible. That's just terrible. Okay. I don't watch hockey, and that's terrible. But, okay, me. Here you go. Find a recording device. Tape recorder, which gives you an idea how old I am. That and the fact I've told people. Or a cell phone or a CD or whatever it is that you can record your voice on. Okay. Record the following in your voice. And this is the boring part. You literally record, I no longer desire to drink. Okay, you repeat that one simple statement. I no longer desire to drink. Okay, you record that for a half hour. Okay, straight. Told you it was boring. Okay. Once you've got it recorded, starting as soon as you can, sort of thing. Every night, when you're done doing whatever you're doing, when you're ready to literally go to sleep, hit that button and play it. It can be set down on low volume. It doesn't matter. Okay. Turn that recording on and run it. Okay. Don't turn it on and hit mute. I said turn the volume down, not muting it. Okay. Every single night you record that just when you're going to sleep. Okay, you've done everything. You're finished reading, finished playing, finished watching a show. You're ready to turn the light off and sleep. Turn that recording on and let it run every single night. What'll happen is your brain will take that message and modify it and modify your behavior. And over the next average time is 21 days. Okay, if you miss a day, start over counting your 21 days at day one. Okay, average time is 21 days. And what it does is it's literally self-hypnosis. And it stops you from having the urge to drink. Okay, you'll still be drinking to start with. Okay, but you'll lose the urge. Net result, you won't have the withdrawals. And from what I've heard, withdrawals from drinking, alcoholism withdrawals are a royal pain. Okay, but run it that way. It may take you longer than 21 days, but what you're doing, like I said, that's the average time. Okay, what you're doing is reprogramming your brain so that you no longer have that addiction and that draw to the alcohol. Okay, now if you desire, because you're a beer drinker, I no longer desire to drink. Okay, the people that have done that never affected their desire to drink water, coffee, pop, tea. It just simply reinforced the idea that alcohol was no longer what they were looking for. Okay, you want to be a little bit more specific. You can go, I no longer desire to drink alcohol. Okay, and this will reprogram your brain. Okay, if you haven't done this before, give it a shot. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, I've given this method to literally hundreds of people over the years. Okay, I've given it to thousands of people regarding smoking. Okay, now I will tell you, smoking, I never tried the method on. And I'll be danged if I'm going to start smoking so I can actually experience whether that method works. Okay, I run by a slightly different set of rules. When I decided I was going to quit drinking, I went, I'm done. That was the end of my drinking. And my drugs the same day. I was going through 6 lines of cocaine minimum and at least a 26er of rye. When I stopped, I stayed away from the bar for a month. Okay. And then I went in the one night and went, I'm going to have a drink. But I want to be here all night, but I'm only going to be here until the drink is gone. I managed to nurse it for an hour. So I went home and stayed home for a couple of weeks. Then I came back. And again, I went, I'm only having a drink, having one. Well, it lasted me from 8 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning. So I went, okay, I can do that. So I have one more drink. Since then, I have not had so much as, and now that was done without the recording. Well, I will tell you this. Can you get a lobotomy? Yeah, but that might be a bit of a problem there, Joe. And as for shock therapy, a buddy of mine, okay, he used to drink really, really heavily. And the only thing that being hit with a lightning bolt twice that it did was created a situation of schizophrenia. So I'm recommending, now let's face it, that's a bit of an extreme shock. But I recommend against shock therapy. It's usually painful. No. No, dog face. That would be a, what the heck is that called? A lobotomy is where they drill a hole in the side of your head and wipe out part of your brain. You're thinking of a lobotomy, if I remember the term correctly, which is where they do the flush. And no, they don't actually usually use. There you go. My apologies. Yes, an enema is the right word for it there, dog face. Thank you. But no, a lobotomy, they drill a hole in the side of your head in the hopes that it'll take away the schizophrenia, and it does. It cures mental illness because the person, instead of sitting there doing really weird things, they sit there and just kind of, tilted sideways with their tongue hanging out. No more odd behavior. They just stay that way. Well, I'd like to say I didn't have a choice, but yeah, absolutely there, me. There is no question. Now, why does it seem like I'm talking to me? There is no question in my heart at all. Sasquatch are real. They are a physical entity. I ran into them when I first ran into them when I was about 3 years old, maybe 4. Okay, I actually met a small family of them. Well, that's the other way of doing it. Yeah, I mean, it does get to the brain, but the difference is, Joe, if they put the steel rod in your eyeball, unless they're really careful, they're going to punch a hole in the optic as well. I mean, these are really barbaric methods of doing things, but hopefully they're changing. But no, I absolutely believe in Sasquatch me. Really, really nice, gentle people. Okay. I mean, yes. If it's been raining, they smell like a wet dog. Okay. Primarily because, well, fur, wet, figure it out. Dogs have a lot of the same similarities. But they are one of them, and they are a very gentle creature. My brother, before he passed away, estimated that in order to have a sustainable population, you have to have 200 people, 200 pair in the same, in the vicinity, in order to avoid genetic relapse or genetic hiccups. Okay, so, much like if you see a mouse in your house or you see a rat in the house, there's another half dozen that you're not seeing. Well, if you're seeing a Sasquatch, then there is another couple hundred around that you're not seeing. Now, I was lucky. Okay, aside from getting to meet them. Okay, not only did I meet the adults close up, but I met a youngster. I mean, he was only twice my height, but again, I was only like 3-4 years old. So that doesn't make him very tall to start with. Oh, there you go. There you go, Dogface. Your cat brought you dinner. Of course, the question I always ask at that point is, did it at least have the decency to actually kill it? Unlike Garfield, who used to bring John mice all the time. John goes, "It's not dead." And of course, Garfield go, "Well, I'm not doing all the work." So, I mean, Sasquatch are a wonderful group of people. And the people that tell me that Sasquatch are a violent race, number one, I've never met them. Well, that was nice of you there, Dogface. People that tell me that Sasquatch are a violent race, they have probably run into a Wara, and the Wara is an off-world race that looks remarkably like a Sasquatch, but is not. Okay. Oh, and speaking of the Wara and other races, I just heard from my artist that's working on the races of the worlds. He's getting in touch with me tomorrow to discuss the final touches on the next batch of 5. Again, I am doing my best to get these books finished. Yeah, they wouldn't. Did they ever steal your kokanee there, Joe? Because there were commercials out a few years back that's what they did. They'd come into somebody's campsite, grab their kokanee, and sadly, the one showed them grab the kokanee, load it into the camper, and drive off with the camper too. Okay. Frankly, I don't think the Sasquatch know how to drive. In all fairness, I don't think they can get into the driver's seat in most cases. But, again, if you're aiming at something, if you desire to do anything, there's 4 keys to it. Okay. There are 4 steps in any event that you're striving to co-create. Number 1, you've got to have. That's just depressing, Joe. You've got to have a purpose. Why are you striving to do whatever it is? Okay. That's first and foremost. Once you've got the purpose, you've got to have a plan. How are you going to go about doing that? And that's where breaking it down into smaller tasks of 15 minutes to half an hour works like a charm. Okay. Then you've got to have persistence. You've got to stay locked on that goal and move, redirect everything that's blocking your path to help the energy run straight through. Well, look at the bright side there, Dogface. At least he didn't send you just one bottle. You've got to have the persistence to stay focused on it, and you've got to have patience to let the event take place. Okay? Whatever change you're looking to make in your life, it didn't get there overnight, in all likelihood. Now, of course, in the case, and pardon me for this one, but I know somebody mentioned that they broke their back. That's one of those rare situations where, where you look at it and go, yeah, life changed like that. Okay. Oh, that was Joe, I believe. Could be wrong. My memory for names is still not great. And of course, I keep going this direction. That always makes it fun. Oh, okay, I see. Well, of course, you have to look at a number of things, but, kokanee is what I used to drink all the time. So, because we're standing in that venue there, Dogface, what beer do you drink? Just because I'm nosy. But at least I'm honest about it. The reality of it from your standpoint, from everybody's standpoint, is you get a goal in your mind. Okay. It's not until that thought gets a real heartfelt drive. And rest assured, life-threatening illness or life-threatening potential is not a good motivator. Okay. Not from anything I've seen. Now, from my standpoint, I used to drink kokanee and high test, old stock. Once in a blue moon, if I wanted a real quiet beer, as it were. Coors I would drink quite readily. But it was not my first choice, as it were. Nobody can, the reality of it is most of the so-called fancy beers aren't any better than the rest of them. You're paying for the name most of the time. It's kind of like, when I was drinking heavily, the best wine I ever drank, okay, it was called Black Tower. Absolutely best wine on the planet. Okay. I mean, I will admit, the wine at the top of the first bottle wasn't great. But the wine at the bottom of the fourth was absolutely smooth. I mean, you couldn't find wine that was smoother. See, way too many people I talk to, YJ. Extra old stock doesn't bring back memories. It wipes it out or interrupts them. But, there's absolutely nothing, wrong with it. As the saying goes, everything in moderation. Okay, within reason. That's the part they forget to tell you. Because I will tell you this. Arsenic in moderation is still a really bad idea. But get a goal in your mind of what you desire to accomplish. Now, I've started sorting out my filing cabinet behind me, and obviously you're not going to see a lot of change there. Okay, from your standpoint. But the junk and the clutter that I've had around here, okay, pretty soon I've got to, as a matter of fact, I have to start sorting it out now. I got to figure out what I'm doing with the stuff on this shelf and what I'm doing with this whole computer station. And I've got I think 4 months to get it sorted out and figure out what to do with it without getting rid of things. Well, that unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure which. What do we got? Dogface is just saying, cheap wine and a 3-day growth. That's an Aussie proverb. I'm hoping that's actually a positive thing. Yeah, it wasn't until I actually got down into Texas. When I got down there, I made a point of trying something down there called sassafras. Not alcoholic. Okay, but I'd heard a lot about it, so I figured, what the heck, give it a shot. From my standpoint, that worked out really well. You want a bad wine? Most people don't want a bad wine. But if you desire a bad wine, up here we had something called Schlosslatterheim. I'm telling you, I drank 72 ounces of this stuff. There's another word for it, by the way. And I didn't get so much as a buzz. Heck, I didn't even get a popcorn hangover out of the deal. Now that, if you can't get even that out of it, the wine is bad. Okay. Of course, you'd think that I wouldn't know good wine from bad wine at all when you think I used to drink literal vinegar and pickle juice. Now, not so much. But pick a goal. It's a thing that we have to remember is you can think about what you desire to change. Okay. And you can think about it until the cows come home, until long after they've gone to bed. That's one of the easiest ways of doing it. Now, of course, the trick there, YJ, YJ says, I got a 6-pack of weatherproof plastic locking totes, and it's brought the clutter way down. There we go. I'm packing boxes for the spring yard sale. No, in all honesty, I really don't. Okay. Heavy metal itself, and even what they call classic rock nowadays, never really caught my attention. But what they call death metal is absolutely a killer for me. As in, it literally, the first time I heard it, it literally stopped my heart. Okay. But no, I don't enjoy heavy metal itself. Okay. For me, it's simple. I grew up liking country. Okay. And what they call nowadays soft rock to a degree. But if I'm listening to something that's got words, I have to be able to understand what the words are. And if it doesn't have words, it's got to be quiet enough and peaceful enough that I can have a conversation while it's running in the background. So do I listen to heavy metal? Never. I do, however, like the mind that Gene Simmons, the leader of Kiss, the head singer from Kiss. I love the way that he was looking at the world. He actually said something that applies quite nicely here. Okay. I was just going through the channels one day, way back when I still had cable. and Gene Simmons' Family Jewels was on. Okay, which sounds really bad, but it was just ideas of his, of the way he looked at the world. And just as I turned the channel, he leans into the camera and he goes, "For all of you creative people out there is a major misconception." He goes, "The theory is that creativity is 90% inspiration and 10% perspiration." He says, "I'm telling you, it's wrong." He says, and he went on to explain what he'd done with the music. And he says, the reality is that creativity is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. Okay, again, thinking about it, getting inspired and going, yeah, that's a great idea. If you don't get off your tail feathers, it's not going to happen. And this cute thought, this cute idea that, well, it's not my responsibility. Your life, your success, your future is your responsibility. Okay, if you don't know how to accomplish something, if you don't know where to start, absolutely talk to somebody that has done it before. Okay, and I don't think I've seen him come in yet, but this gentleman right here, actually, it's this gentleman and his kid. Okay, if you're getting into painting figures and working with that side of things, absolutely stop by and take a look at this guy and watch this guy's show. Okay, this is Shadow and Son. Now, they do a phenomenal job where it comes to painting figures and what have you, and working on the creative side on that level. That would be first and foremost. Okay. So, I mean, you take a look at that. But like I said, if you've got a goal or you desire to do something, absolutely talk to somebody that has done it successfully. Okay. The reality of it is that people that have done it successfully are the only ones that can tell you exactly how to do it, in the way they did it. It won't be the only way possible. But I will tell you that with the number of corporations I've talked to and the number of so-called professionals that have said, "Oh, I'm an expert in this field," and I'll tell you that dumber than a bag of hammers most of the time, at least in my experience. And this is why when people have told me, "Oh, you're an expert in this field," I am not an expert in any field. I can barely manage to key into to be me. Okay. But, I tried the route of trying to sell things. Yeah, actually, he sent it to me. I haven't seen the newest copy, but he did tell me. Now, do understand the book front that we're talking about. No, I don't know if I've got enough things to do that. But the book what I should do, as a matter of fact, I'll make a note of that. And say, I don't know if it'll work, but I'll do it tonight. Hopefully it doesn't run me out of ink. Of course, I don't have my pen with me now. Yes, I do. So, the book cover. Oh, I got to talk to her about that too. This one. But I'll give you guys a sneak preview here. Not tonight. I will do it for tomorrow. Now, this is on the proviso that I don't run out of ink in the process. Hey, Nathan, glad to see you. You did manage to get back. Tomorrow night. Okay. Yes, we are going to be talking about the Healing Center. That's still on the chart. Okay. But I'm going to run off a picture, a preview of the front cover of the next book in the Yldrbac Chronicles, assuming I don't run out of ink. Okay. And I will show you that at the beginning of the show tomorrow, before we get into the other topics. Okay, all in all, the real important thing. And I love the fact that people are regularly coming back. This is great. From my standpoint, it's a shock. Like I said, I listen to myself sometimes. I'm going, I'm thinking to myself, what comes out of your mouth is completely twisted because I've got no quantifiable proof to back it up. All I've got is a whole pile of experiences that have been corroborated by other people going, oh, I remember seeing something like that, or I remember this particular event. But do I have any photographs? I haven't even got any hand drawings. Which reminds me, the next batch just came to mind, one of the next ones. Because what I'm going to do is this one picture that I did sketch out. I'm going to turn over to, like, Chris is a chap that's been doing my pictures for Races of the Worlds. And I'm going to turn one picture over to him. Technically, it's two. So that he can take that picture and turn it into one for the book. So all the art in the book is still the same way. Okay. But we'll get through this next step first. But when the idea here is very simple. It is time to put the negative past behind us and really buckle down and work together to make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, if you haven't done so already, absolutely, if you like the video, do give me a thumbs up, please. Okay, and in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll find a neat little subscribe button. Absolutely, please hit that and share it with as many people as you like, or for that matter, as many people as you don't like. Okay, Lord knows I've gotten along with millionaires, with ex-cons, with paupers, with just standard working class. Of course, I only get along with anybody for a short period, and then I end up having to leave somewhere, primarily because too many people. But yeah, I will show you what I can regarding the books that are coming up. But I mean, I've got to get some more stuff done. I was working on it again today. So as far as getting it out on time, well, that's already a write-off. But we are at the 2-hour mark here. So I am going to bring this to a close. Okay, I will be back again tomorrow. We will talk about the Healing Center tomorrow and what I've got planned there. And bear in mind, the fact I'm ready to talk about it says it's time to start building it. I'm already building the same idea in the game I play on Thursday, in the solo game I play. But I'm going to bring this to a close. So until we meet again, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.